Hi, this is Kate from Izzalicious Designs, and today we're going to be doing the crown, the princess crown. And as you can see, it is the same type of headband as the Wonder Woman headband, except I've used obviously gold instead of yellow, and I have the beads on the front here, and I've used a few different colours in my actual crown. Now, what I thought I would do for these videos, the Wonder Woman tutorial teaches you how to go from beginning to end, and I'm not going to be doing that kind of tutorial for each and every one of these because it's so long. So when I do these tutorials, I will show you how to start off and do the first 5 rows doing the move it forward technique if you're not familiar with it. I'm then going to not do the next 25 columns. I'm going to let you do those columns by yourself, and I'm not going to pick up and show you how to do that. I'm going to move straight to this main triangle and I will show you how to do the differences in that. If we're doing it like a mural where we have different writing in it, obviously I will go through that with you, but for the actual beads I'm going to show you how to start off. I'm going to show you how to do the beads on the triangle, and then I'm going to show you how you can attach both sides of your bands together so that you have the headband. So what we're going to need this time, as I don't have enough gold bands, I'm going to use white bands, and so that that sticks out and is visible for you guys, I'm going to use different pink beads. I have sparkly dark pink and a sparkly light pink, so I'm just going to do them like that as I use the crystally coloured ones in the other crown. I'm also going to use clear bands as my crossover bands. Okay, now the entire crown takes approximately 723 bands, and that does not include, that was the count for the Wonder Woman one. It didn't include the red bands for the flower, but they were nominal, it wasn't very much at all. Now, what I did do was take a piece of graph paper, so I got a piece of graph paper, and I drew out a pattern for sort of how I want my beads to be. So I mean, this obviously is not to scale this side, but I said, you know, I'm going to do between 20 to 40 columns to the left, 20 to 40 columns to the right. That's depending on the size of the head of the person that you are making it for. I did 25 each side, and that worked nicely for Izzy's head. She's 6, so if you've got somebody with a particularly big head, maybe go up to 40 each side. They do stretch, but you obviously don't want to stretch it so much that you can see the crossover bands like that. Okay, then I did the triangle. So I worked out, I did the same amount of number for my loom. I worked out where the top of my loom was and where the bottom of my loom would be. I said I need 5 rows for the headband part, and then this is where my triangle part will be, and I put the dots where I want my beads to be. Okay, that is what I'm going to work on. Now you can do it any way you like. You can have, you know, one bead slap bang in the middle for all I care. That's fine, it's up to you. We're going to have our loom in the standard configuration. Standard configuration means it's all columns being the same height. Your arrow is facing towards you. If you're not using a loom with an arrow, it's the open part of the peg, and we are going to start at the bottom, and we're going to count 5. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. This is this top one here where we start, and we're going to start by putting 2 lead bands there so that they can stretch across. Okay, now this is the start of the left hand side of the headband. I'm only going to do about 5 or 6 of these columns just to show you how to do it. If you need more instruction on that, please go and watch the Wonder Woman tutorial. It does show you a lot clearer how to do the move it forward technique. We're going to lay our bands here. Now it's very important that you go from the right to the left for those ones. We're double banding So you're putting two bands together on the pegs at the same time. So double band, and our crossover bands are going to be going between 4 and 5 pegs only. You're not going to really want to stretch them anything over that, because they'll just stretch too much. Now once we get here, what we're going to do, I'm only going to use a single band. I'm going to put a single lead band here to go to the next column when I'm there. I'm going to take a single and place it from the center to the right, and a single from the left to the center, and then I'm going to take a single white band, wrap it once and twice around my hook, and use that as an end cap here. Alright, I'm going to start placing some crossover bands. They're a single clear band, and you're going to place them across these 3 pegs so that you have 1, 2, 3 and 4 rows of them like that. We're going to go under that end cap and grab the top single band and loop it to the right, and do the same again. Loop that next one to the right. Then you dig down and find the 2 bottom bands, and we loop these up. You're only going to loop the first 2 columns. So once you've looped those 2 columns, dig down here, pull that up and loop to the right. You're now ready to take this off your loom, this first column. Now you're going to need your base removal tool that's on the back of your Rainbow Loom hook. Turn your loom over. We're going to take the mini base plate off and budge it forward, so that you have this extra space here. Do the same with the top mini one and move it forward. You then have this column that's free. You're going to take it off and you're going to move it forward, so it now becomes column number 4. So for column number 4, we're going to put 2 bands here as our lead bands, and then grab those bands that were the lead bands and place them on that 4th column. Okay, then lay your 2 bands all the way down. Now I like to keep a little tally of what column number I'm on, because I want it to be the same, obviously. I'm going to take a single band, place that there for my next lead, and take this lead and move it across. Dig down. Before we do that, let's move the crossover bands over. That would have been silly. Move those over like that. Dig down, grab that band and move it to the right, and then we can loop the middle column up. Once that top one's looped up, you're going to come over here, dig down, find the 2 bottom bands and loop them to the right. Push everything down and take this column off the loom. Like so. Push everything down. Let's turn our loom over, remove the big base and move it forward. Take column number 1 off, and it becomes column number 5. Now, I had mentioned that we were going to change crossovers every 4 to 5 pegs. This has been stretched over 4 because this was 4. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to put new crossover bands on. Put 2 bands here as your lead, lay your bands, single one as your lead here for the next column. Drag this one over. Now if we were putting new crossover bands on, and as I said we should go over 5, so normally I would drag this across here, but I just want to show you, when you're putting new ones on, you place them over the old one, which is the middle column, and across to the new one. Okay, so that as you go to loop those up, you actually have 2 crossover bands that you have to go through. Okay, so when we go to loop this up, we come down here, grab this one over, and now we loop this center column up. Now we have 2 crossover bands to go behind and find our 2 white bands. Okay, so that is how you add new crossover bands. Right, we're now going to pretend, and actually I should have, before I put that on, move these across to here. That was silly, my brain was going ahead of my mouth was going ahead of my brain. Get to here, dig down, find those 2 bottom, and loop in. Alright, we're now going to, you're going to pause this, and you're going to do, this was 5, so you're going to choose how many columns you want to do. If it's 25 or 30, you're going to do the remainder of those. You're just going to keep on doing what we were just doing here until you hit number 30 or number 25, whatever it is. When you're ready, restart your video, and we're going to pretend that this column that we just laid here is column number 30, 25, the end of your band here. So you've gone all the way from here all the way to here. Okay, and we're going to start going up to make our triangle. So we'll take your column off your first column, turn your loom over, and we're doing the mini base plates on this, so budge them forward, and we're going to start our triangle. Now make sure that everything is lined up. You're still in standard offset, like that, standard configuration. You're going to take 2 bands, but instead of going across exactly like here, you're going to go 1 up, alright, like that. And then you're going to grab the 2 bands that were the lead, and you're going to drag them up in a diagonal, alright, and then you'll lay your bands. And I'm going to put my lead here and drag that lead over. I'm going to drag my crossover bands across, and I'm going to put a crossover band between these 2, okay, like that. Oops. Now let's decide to loop this up, dig down, loop to the right, and loop up our middle column. Dig down here, find those 2 bands. I tend to pull up and then loop to the side. I just find it easier. We'll take a variety of hooks here. Take this off. Be careful that you don't take this center column off. Turn your loom over. We're moving the big base plate, and then move the next column over. Now this, if we're looking at our pattern, okay, we just did our first one here, okay, so we could, technically we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. This is our 5th row. So anything over here is going to be where we can place our beads. Now I think that would probably be a little too close, but let's lay our bands and see how we feel. So we're going to have 2 here, okay, and drag these 2 up to here. Lay our bands, move the lead over to here like that, and then drag this lead over. We are pulling the crossover bands over, and they're on 1, 2, 3, 4. This one can get pulled over too. You're going to need one here. Now this is where we decide, okay, where do I actually want to have a bead? This would be my column number 1 here, and I'm talking about these as 1, 2, 3. So this is number 1 here, and then I had a bead here on number 2. This is my number 2. So I'm going to lift my crossover band off. Okay, I'm going to take the bead that I want to use, and I'll use a dark pink. I'm going to put my bead on, and you can use a metal threader, you can use floss, hook, whatever. Take one band off. You don't take both, you just take one, and you slide your bead on, and you place it back on the peg, and you pick up the crossover band that you just carefully dropped and place that back. Okay, so I've done a dark pink there. Alright, that means that over here I'm going to do my next bead, and over here I'll do my next bead, and I'm going to alternate. Okay, or I might just use all dark pink, doesn't really matter. Okay, I will come down here, I'm going to grab my top white band and pull that forward, pull that to the side, and then loop these up. Grab down here, grab the 2 bottom bands, loop up like that, and I'm going to take this off the loom. Stay there, you. Okay, I'm going to turn my loom over. Budge my column forward. Okay, take 2 bands, and this is where we are. We're going to put those 2 bands here. Okay, grab these 2, and they get stretched up in a diagonal. Place our bands. It's always good to place your bands and then think about where you're going to put the bead. There's my 2 bands. I'm going to put a single here, just like that. Drag this one across. And I said I was going to do 5 on these, but I did 4, so I'm just going to stick with 4, otherwise I think they're going to be uneven. So I'm going to stick with 4 and place new bands here now. They're this transparent, the clear ones. Now, if you're lost at how many they've gone across, pull them out, pull this out like that, and you can see that that one was on 1, 2, 3, so it can get dragged across to floor. 4, not floor. This one is only on 1 and 2, so it can drag across, and we need one here. So put all the bands on, and then we work out where we're going to put our colours. So I'm going to leave a space between, so it's pink space pink, but I'm going to do also pink space, so that means that this will be space pink. So I'm going to put another pink here. Alright, put the pink, I'm going to just use dark pink, put the pink here, take this white band off, slide my band on and replace, and then make sure I put that crossover band back. Okay, let's sort ourselves out, dig down, loop to the right, and now we loop up. You have 2 crossover bands that you're having to push down. As I said, you can make any pattern in the beads that you like. This is just the one that I chose for the princess crown. Dig down, grab the 2 white, and you're just going to loop both of them up. That bead will pop through the back like that when we're ready. So don't worry about that, you're just looping it as normal. Okay, let's take this off the loom. I know it's silly, isn't it? I've got 3 hooks out. I've got the hook I like looming with. I've got the Rainbow Loom one because I like it for the base plate removal. And then I have the one that fits my beads down it. Let's push through here. And there's our next. Again, take 2 bands. We were here, so we're going up to here. Grab these ones and drag up. Place our bands. Oopsie. Place a single on the end here and drag this single across. Drag the crossover bands across. Let's see how many we're through here. 1, 2, 3, 4. We need a new one here. So that means we have 3 here, I think. 1, 2, 3. Drag that across to 4, that's there. And we'll put 1 here. And we'll work out where we want to put our bead. Now we're going to be putting 2 beads. We have a bead here, we need a bead here. So let's lift this crossover band up. Lift up the band, one only. Slide the bead on, replace the band, and drag the crossover band back. We're not doing any on the second row because we're going space, bead, space. But here we've got space, so we need a bead here. So let's lift this one up, put our bead on, lift that single band up, place it on, and replace the band. And then don't forget to replace the crossover band. Alright? We'll loopy. Dig down, grab the bottom, loop it forward. Dig down, loop up like that, push everything down. Take this off our loom like that. Alright, let's do our next set. Move our band, pegs. Ooh, I can't even say it's midnight, it's not. It's only 10:14. Take 2, we were here, so we're going to put 2 up here, and we're going to take the 2 that were there and drag them up. Let's lay our bands. Now I found out today that a girl that I went to school with, her name is Dorothy, has a little girl called Poppy. Well, she's probably not a little girl, she's probably a teenager. She's probably quite a big girl now. And they live in England. As you know, I was born in England. I went to school in England. And so my friend Dorothy's daughter is Poppy. And England is going bonkers at the moment with Rainbow Loom. And Poppy is a loomer. And we found out today that she's been following my tutorials and she didn't even know that I went to school with her mum. That's quite cool, I thought. Let's see. So, hello Poppy. 1, 2, 3. Let's drag these across to 4. Now here we're at 1, 2, 3, 4. We need a new, are we? Hang on a minute, what am I doing? Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4. We need a new band here. And here we should be at 3. If that one was at 4, this one should be at 3. 1, 2, 3. So drag that to 4. This can be dragged, and we'll put another crossover here. Let's look at where we're putting our beads. I don't do beads very often. I've got bucket loads of them. I really should do things with more beads, shouldn't I? Put your bead on. Okay, so we had bead, space, bead, space, bead, space, bead. So let's put a bead here. Take the crossover band off. One band. Replace the band. Drag that back. Space, bead, space. We need space, bead. And replace the crossover band. You don't want to forget that. Alright, let's loom this up. Dig down, loop to the right, and then we loop up. If you're not being a fumble fingers like me. Okay, I'll take this one off the loom. Move our big base plate. Can't stress enough, if you don't have a metal hook, go and buy one, please. Invest. It is so worth it. Okay, now 2 bands. We're here, so we're going to put our 2 bands here. Drag these 2 up at the diagonal like that. And lay our bands. Take one to be the lead and cross that one over like that. So what are we at here? We're at 1, 2, hang on a minute, come here. 1, 2, 3, 4. We need new ones. They were trying to be tricky. So 1, 2, 3, 4. How many is this one at? Drag this one across, that's only at 2. This one, that can drag across. 4, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one can have a new one. Which means this one's at 3. 1, 2, 3. So drag that across. This one can drag across, and this one needs a new one. Let's look at our bead situation. Put the bead on first. Bead, space. We need a bead here. Lift just the one up. Slide the bead on. Replace the band. Space, bead, space. Bead, space, bead. If you're wondering where I get my hooks from, they're actually just from Michael's, my local craft shop. This one is a 2.75 crochet dude hook, and I quite like it because these beads can go down it quite nicely. Okay, so we've got space, bead, space, space, bead. I keep my finger on the peg that I don't want that crossover band to come off of. So replace the band, and then replace the crossover. So let's do this one. Okay, push everything down. We're going to take this off the loom. See that starting there? Okay, let's move our base plates. Oops. Let's see if I can make as much noise as possible and wake the child. Okay, we're at the top. It's all down here from hill from here. Put 2 here. Grab these 2 and place them up there. Put our lead here, drag this lead across. Where are we at with our bands? Oh, there's new ones. So drag them across. What are we at here? 1, 2, 3, 4. As you pull it apart, you can see where there's 2. Like I can see that there's 2 on here, so that's 1, 2, 3, and then drag it for 4. 1, 2, 3. This one is 1, 2, 3, 4. This one is 1, 2, 3. Drag that one across. We need one up here. Let's look where we want to put our beads. So we're going to put a bead here. At the top, and put the crossover around the back. We're going to put another bead here. Whoa, I'm going to attempt to put a bead there. There we go. Oh, there we are. Let's get another bead. That's a bit horrible. Sharp edges. I don't want to cut anybody, especially seeing it's on the head. There we go. And a space here because we've got space, bead, space. Alright. Up. Pull up and then across, and then take this column off the loom. And you can use whatever beads you want. There's some lovely crystal beads, there's some drop beads. They look really nice, the glass drop beads, they look very princessy. This probably doesn't look terribly princessy, but maybe it'll do for Aurora. She'll wake up in the morning and say, "Mummy, you should use glitter white." Alright, so 2 bands. We were here, we're going here. So place them here, and then grab these 2 that were our lead, if you can. Oh, come here, you. Oh, for goodness sakes. There we go. And stretch them down. Okay, so this time they're being stretched down. Then let's lay our bands. Mine's curling up on itself because I hadn't done the full 25, I only did 5 to show you. The lead, drag this one across, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, so drag it across one more. I think when you do it between 5 you just get to drag it between more, you know, you don't have to drag it so often. I feel like I'm doing it every 5 minutes when I've only do it between 4. Here you can see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, so I need a new one. Here we have 1, 2, 3, so there's 4. Here we have, I can see it, it's 1, 2, 3. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, so I'm going to put a new one here. Here we have 1, 2, 3, and we're just going to drag that one across to there. Alright, go. If I could pick it up. Alright, beads. Bead, space, bead. And attach. Bead, space, bead. And replace your crossover, space, bead, oops, keep it taut, and that stops it from flying all over the place. There we go. You can also, if you don't want to use beads, you can just use bands to make patterns, or you could make raised bands by wrapping, you know, 2 bands on your hook, like 2, 3 times, and placing those on instead of beads. That would be quite a good effect as well. That'd be quite good if you had silver and then, or had black and then had 2 bands and wrapped them around twice and slid on instead of a bead, and that would look sort of like armour. I think that would be really quite cool. push that all down. See how it's beginning to start here? Two bands. I'm going to place, we started here, so this time we start here. Drag these ones down and let's place our bands. Okay, there's our crossover, our lead band across there. So here, what are we at? Told you, I have a memory like a sieve. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do some new ones. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This one is 1, 2, 3. This one will be, I can see it's doubled there, so 1, 2, 3. This one will be 4. Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. This one I'm just going to stretch over because that's where it's going to finish. Dig down. Ah, we can loop up, but I haven't put the beads on that other column yet. We'll loop this one up anyway, but before I take it off I'm going to put the beads on. Dig down. That's harder down this way because we're having to loop up and bring it down. Okay, let's put our beads on before we forget. That's not before you forget, it's before I forget, isn't it? Alright, bead on my hook. So I've got bead space, so I need a bead here. And replace my crossover band. It's a little difficult now because I don't want to let it go because it'll go under here and then I have to dig around to find it. So when you lift that crossover band, just hold it. Bead, space. We're going to do a bead here. So I'm going to take that off and just put it on my finger, okay? And then replace it. And we've got bead, space, bead, space. Alright. So I'm going to get back to this. You're going to have some background noise. My little one is here playing Mario with her dad, so it might be a bit crazy. You might hear coughs and splutters and screams of "Oh my God, you killed me!" Please, if you hear that, don't call the police. It's just Mario. Alright, so we added our beads, which I had forgotten. What I'm going to do now is push my hook down here, grab those two bands that are at the very bottom. And it's always a bit difficult doing it this way because we're going downwards rather than up. Grab them. I pull them up anyway and then move them down. Now let's take this off. The reason I've looped that one in already is because that is quite high and I didn't want all of this to unravel. So I just played it safe. Take this column off. so. Push everything down and move our column forward. I had already moved my base plate forward. Alright, this time our 2 lead, we started here, we're going to be starting here this time, so place 2 here, then grab those other 2 that were the lead and place them there, and we will place our bands. Once we get to the bottom here, we're going to put a single band on as a lead for the next column, and then move this one across like that. Let's count where we're at with our crossover bands. I think we just put new ones on, so we'll pull these across like that. Let's count on this one. If you pull it apart, you can see here is where we started, so 1, 2, 3, 4, so I need a new one here. So get a single clear and place it between the middle and the right. Let's pull this one out a bit. 1, 2, 3, so that is 4. And before I do that, let's put the bead on. Let's not forget. So I'm going to put my bead on my hook. It's easier when I haven't dragged all. See, we've got bead space, so bead needs to go here. Like that, and then we can drag that crossover band over. Space, bead, space, so this one is going to have a bead. We can drag this across. We'll put a bead here. Like that. See how far this one has come. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We need a new crossover. Like that. And then if we look here, we've got space, bead, space, nothing there, but we're just going to pull this one across to here. Alright, let's loop up our middle column. Dig down, find the bottom and loop to the right. And then we loop these up. Now, because I took the safe precaution and I moved this across, I'm going to take that off, I'm going to hold it, I'm going to loop this up like that, and then I'm going to place this back. And then I'm going to drop it. Let me get that before that becomes a problem. Where is it? There it is. So I'm going to put my hook down here, grab it, and place that back. It's really important to hang on to these. If you don't, the whole lot's going to come off your loom. Put your thumb there if you're wanting to keep it safe, and take this column off. And you only have to do it for the first couple. Once you've got past that, I think you're pretty safe, because you're not lifting the bands right close to it then. Push everything down, and trust me, I've had them come off. It's very, very annoying. Okay, let's turn our loom over. We're doing the big base plate, and then the empty column that moves forward. We're going to be in standard configuration still. We started here, so this time we start one under it over here, drag these forward like that, and lay our bands. Still double banding. put a single one here, drag this across. Let's count how many we've had for this one. I think we might be okay. Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 4. Here we're at, that's where we put it on, so it's going to go on 1, 2, so move it across 3. Here we've got bead space, and we've gone over 1, 2, 3, 4, so we need a new one here. And I can put that on because I don't need to put a bead there, but I do need to put a bead here. So I place my bead on my hook, slide that on. Let's see how many we've got. So let's stretch out here. How many have we got? 1, 2, so it gets stretched across. We don't need a bead on this one. It's just going to get stretched across, and that's the last one that we need to have that done too. So let's loop up this middle. Loop up to the top, then we're going to find these two that we need to loop down. So here's the two that were at the bottom. I'm going to stretch it up and then move it down like that. I'm going to place my finger here as I take this off the loom. I do not want this coming off, and my pegs are going AWOL. Let me fix that. There we go. Make sure that's pushed down. You don't want that going anywhere. Keep a finger on it. There we go. Push everything down. Okay, see how we're getting the shape happening now? Let's turn it over. We'll do the bottom, mini base plates. Move that column. And we'll put two, we started here, so these are going to go here. We'll take these, drag them across, and then we'll use double banding. Place the single one here. We'll take the single one that was there and place it over. Now, where are we going to put beads? We don't need a bead here. We don't need a bead here. We do need a bead here. Place that on. So that's the only one that we're going to need, because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, that's the only one. Let's count our crossovers, see if we need to add new ones. It was here, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, we need a new one. Single, clear, stretch it across. Remember, you have to go on this on top of the old crossover band, so that you have two on one peg where you do that crossover. Let's check here. We've got 1, 2, 3. So that's over to 4, and this one 1, 2, so that'll be 3, and this one we're just going to pull across because that's where it finishes. Okay, let's dig down here. You're pushing both of those crossovers back with the back of your hook, so that you're exposing just the two bottom white bands. Move up to here. Now we have to dig down, find those two, so you're going past all of those other bands to get those two very bottom ones. Pull it up and then loop it down. Again, put your finger on here to take this off. Okay, Make sure you keep a finger there just to start it off at least, and then push everything down so that it's safe. It doesn't matter that that's come through because you'll push it back when you have it off the loom. Okay, we'll move our big base plate. This time we're going to put our 2 lead. We started here, so we put them here, nearly at the end of our triangle. Move those leads forward, lay our bands. Put your single here, drag this one across. There we go. We've got new ones here, so we just drag these across. How many have we got here? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we need a new one here. We're not putting a band here, a bead, because we've got bead space. Okay, so we look like we can loop things up. I'm surprised you haven't had screams and "You took flying power, it was mine." Dig down, find those 2 bottom bands, there they are, pull up and then loop down. Push it all down. Hold it securely when we take this off. You'll be cursing me otherwise. Okay, see how it's all coming together. Okay, let's turn this over. Move the column. I don't think we need any more beads. So let's see where we're at now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we still need to put 2 here, but next time they're going to go across. So this is the last bit of our downward triangle. We'll put that across there. We'll place our bands. Pop that here. Drag that across. Where are we at? 1, 2. There we are. This is just going to come across to here. Dig down, loop across, and now we loop to the peg above. So we're all done with our beads for now. When you get to here, you're going to dig down, find those 2 bottom, pull up and loop down. Push everything down, keep your finger there when you take this off. Promise if you don't, it will go flying, it will all come unravelled. You'll hate me. Okay, so here we have our little pattern, our little triangle of beads on our tiara. Now remember, I only did the first 5 to show you how to do it. You would have done 25, 30, however many for your tiara. So now let's move this forward. I'm going to show you an extra 5 just of the straight, because then at least I can show you how to tie them off together. Mine will be a mini one, maybe for a doll or something. Okay, now instead of dragging this down like this, we're going to drag it across to here, but we still need to put your lead, your 2 lead, but you're putting them side by side now, and then you drag those 2 across like that. And now this is column number 1, this is going to be number 2, and you're going to do the same amount that you did at the front before you started your triangle. So if you did 25, we're going to do another 25 of these. If you did 30, we're doing 30. However many you did, we've got to do again. Alright? Put your little lead one here, drag this lead one across, and then we'll look. I think we're up for new ones. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, we're up for new ones. Oh, that's a bit strange. Let's throw that to one side. So, new bands. And we don't have to count all the others up here if they're going to be different or not, because these are all the same. We're not doing anything with this one because we have these bands here. So, move to the side and loop up. You're going to dig down here, get those 2, pull up and down so that they're on there, hold that one in place. And it's only really dangerous when you're looping it, you know, from a higher position to a lower position. When you're just going side by side, it's not so fraught with angst. There we go. Alright, so as you can see, that's our triangle of beads. Let's turn this over, do our base plates again. As I mentioned, if you have more than one loom, put them together. Do it, you know, if you've got 2 looms, do it so that you're doing the move it forward technique with 2 looms. It saves time. Okay, so I'm now on column 3. I'm going to place 2 here. And I should be writing this down on my little notepad, but of course I'm not. You will be though. Place my bands. Place my lead. Drag my other lead across that was there before, and then drag my crossover bands across. Oopsie, come here you. Loop to the side and loop up. And then all we do is find these 2 bottom ones down here. Make sure you go past all the other bands. So the 2 very bottom, pull up and to the side. And this is where it's not so scary anymore, because you're not going from a higher position on your loom to a lower position. I still like to hold it. It's annoying if everything becomes unravelled. See? So that was 3. I'm going to do 2 more, and then I'm going to show you how to tie them together so that they become one piece. Move your column forward. 2 lead bands. Grab those lead bands that were on the middle, drag them across, and a pair of bands. Get a single for your lead. Move this lead across. I think we're still good for this, aren't we? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, we are. Remember, you're only going between 4 bands, 4 pegs for your crossovers. dig down, find those bottom two, pull up and across, and take off your loom. My last one, because as I said, I've just done 5. You're going to be doing more than that. Well, unless you're doing it for a doll or a dog, I suppose. Don't know if a cat would particularly like having a headband on. I know mine wouldn't. Let's lay our bands. Now, okay, so that's a good point. If we're at the end, let's pretend that this is column 24 and I'm doing 25. This is going to be my last column of 25. All right, I don't need to put lead bands on because it's going to be my last column. So thanks for reminding me. Pull these across. They're your last. This is my last column. Okay, now please have paused me before this so that you're at your last column too, and we can start together for our last column. Put this on. So lay the bands for your last column. You will not need a lead at the bottom here either, okay, because we're just going to use that lead as our finish. Drag your crossover bands over. You're going to loop up the middle just like normal, okay. Just like normal. We're going to take this first column off. Push everything down. Now, I'm going to take this column off. I'm not going to be moving it anywhere. Let me move my base plate first. I'm going to move my base plate just in front like that. I'm going to take that column off so it gives us a bit more room. Now, you probably don't need the extra room because you have the length of what you've been doing. Now, when you link this in, you want the stitching to be on the inside, okay? So move this around so that the inside of it is flush against your loom, the back of your loom, like that. What we're going to do, and it's difficult for me because mine is so incy, and you know, I've got the beads against it. When you've got more of your headband there, you're not going to be flush. You can see you've got these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops that we started with. So we're going to put those loops on our loom like this, okay? And you're just going through the first 2 bands on each side. So you've got 2 here and 2 here, but you've also got the 2 there and there. You're just going through the top bit. You don't need all 4, okay, like that. And then this one here. And hang on, I've done something wrong. Come here, come back, I've got ahead of myself. Here we go. So, 1 there. 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, and this one here. Alright, now if you have a look under here, you can see that you have these 2 bands that we laid. They were the bands that we laid for column 25. We're going to dig down and find those 2 bottom bands and loop them up, just as if we were doing it normally. Loop them up, but now we've included the front of our headband on this too, so that that's looped in. You get up to the top, you're going to dig down here, find those 2, pull up, link to the side, then take 2 white bands, poke your hook through, make sure you've got all of those bands included on your hook. Put your 2 white bands on your hook, drag it back up through and to the back side of the peg. Okay, and then take the two closest to you up, over and off, and pull tight into a slip knot. We can take this off the loom. Mine's so small. There we go. Turn it inside out. Now you can hide these inside here. So I'm going to get a smaller hook and push it through the top here, through the top here. I'm going to grab those tie-off bands and I'm going to drag them back through the inside of the bracelet like that, so that they're kind of hidden, and then as I pull it down you'll see that they sort of get absorbed into the bracelet. If they need to go through another couple, that's fine, but you want to be careful that they're not sticking out. And that is effectively your tiara. Now yours is going to have a lot bigger of a back to it here to go around your head. As I said, I've just done mine very, very small. This size is actually perfect, and if I was Izzy I could show you. Whoops, let's do that. This size is actually perfect as a bracer or a bracelet. If you're see how that fits like that. So if you're looking for a bracelet, you could wear it like that. If you've done it, as I had mentioned, if you did it in black with the silver knobbles of bands instead of the pink beads, that would be fantastic as like an armour for, you know, for a little boy if he's running around, you know, wanting his bracers for his armour. So there we have it. I hope you enjoy. Take care. Bye bye.